bombshell testimony that he lied about his contact with Russia, and reports that Putin was offered listen to this, he was offered a $50 million penthouse at a proposed Trump Tower in Moscow. Donald was up early tweeting that he, quote, lightly looked, unquote, at building in Russia while campaigning, which was very legal, quote unquote, and very cool, quote unquote. Could this be the way why Trump is canceling his meeting with Putin at the G20 summit? He doesn't like the optics of being seen with Putin in this particular milieu right now? What do you say?
I think it's all about optics. I think it's all about perception. I also think it tells you that he's legitimately worried and taking it seriously, because despite all of the allegations and all of the charges that American intelligence has said Russia interfered in the elections, he didn't cancel previous meetings. He had alone time with him in Helsinki just, you know, a few months ago. So we're seeing a completely different...
I disagree with you on that, though, Anna. I think if you look at the substance of the policy under the Trump administration when you're dealing with Putin and Russia, you could argue they've been tougher than any administration since the Cold War. So you can talk about the optics, you can talk about his tweets, which I actually hated that he tweeted canceling this meeting, because that's not how you handle diplomacy. But no one ever talks about the actual issues and what's being done to combat Russia, because that's not the shiny object. No one cares about that. No one gives the president credit for anything that he does right.
But isn't he?
That's what I can't
Wait a second.
stand.
Let me ask you something. Because of his relationship with Putin, and now that we know that he was, you know, while he's saying America first, he's making deals with Russia, by the way. Isn't he compromised a little bit with Russia now? How can he now, what's the word, have diplomacy with Russia? They have him in their pocket.
But this relationship...
So it doesn't really work. You follow my point?
But he's not the only one doing diplomacy, though. I can tell you a number of people that are actually in meetings that are making these decisions.
Because this didn't just happen in a vacuum. I mean, President Obama met with Putin 6 months after taking office in Moscow. He said, Obama talked of the extraordinary work you've done, Putin, on behalf of the Russian people. President Bush said, I looked the man in the eyes. I found him to be very straightforward. I was able to get a sense of his soul. This is something that has been building and building over administrations. Bill Clinton talked about the congenial, easygoing relationship he had with Putin. This is something that's been building and building and normalizing.
They weren't making deals with
the difference
but
is
no
that...
one took
But those are two different things.
But the difference between that...
When we talk about why the meeting was canceled, it just strikes me as odd that Michael Cohen, this bombshell, gets dropped about not how only Trump was involved with Russia and building this tower. His children were also notified about it. And Ivanka is part of that as well. Now he is saying the reason he's... Trump Tower meeting, not the Trump... Well, there are two...
I'm sorry, Trump Jr. meeting with the spy.
With the spy, and then there's also a building of the tower in Moscow. But now he's saying the reason he's not meeting with Putin is because he's upset because they haven't returned the Navy sailers to the Ukraine. When was he concerned about the Ukraine?
Really?
Look, that's kind of
really,
new.
Sonny? Really, Sonny?
About Trump.
Trump has actually been
Trump
tougher on Ukraine than President Obama was. The first thing he did with Russia when he got into office was arm the Ukrainians and put sanctions on Russia as it relates to Ukraine.
No, but listen, Abby,
guys, the point I'm trying to make, if you want to talk about the Mueller investigation, let's have that talk, and the dealings that Trump had with Russians before he got into office. But if you want to talk about actual diplomacy and things that are happening with Russia, that is a very different thing. I would love for this table, not Megan
So
because she's different,
you really
but to
believe
give him
that's why he
credit
canceled that
on
meeting?
something.
You believe he canceled the meeting because he's so concerned about the Ukrainian soldiers?
I can tell you, because I talked to my dad, who lives in Moscow and deals with this every single day, that they were already figuring this out before he decided to cancel it. They were already making that decision. So what drives me nuts are cable pundits that think they know everything about what's going on behind closed doors in diplomacy and come out on television and give facts that are actually inaccurate. When I'm actually talking to people that are in those discussions and know what's going on.
Listen, Abby, your dad was not in the alone time that Trump had with Putin in Helsinki. Nobody was. Anna, it was Trump, Putin, and some translators. I don't know if he was a translator. Maybe he was. I don't know if he speaks Russian.
I will not defend what happened at press conference.
Well,
I was one of the first to tweet
let me
out.
Just get, you've spoken a lot. Let me just say one thing. I think what bothers a lot of Americans is the fact that something that happened in 2016, which had not happened before, and there were a lot of people, including your father, who were very upset with those meetings with Putin. And I remember your father saying, when I looked into Putin's eyes, I didn't see his soul. I saw KGB. And he was right then, and he was right continuously. But what a lot of people are upset about right now that had not happened then is the fact that they interfered in our elections.
And
if you need more proof of that,
Anna, let me ask you this.
that Mueller is doing right now.
Let me ask you this. Okay, Anna, let me ask you this.
Let me finish this.
tell me
Can
what
I finish
Obama
my
did.
point?
Tell me what Obama did
And
in
do you
Russia's
remember
interfering
when, do
election.
you remember when Obama met with the guy and said, after the elections, I'm going to have more flexibility, and every Republican set their hair on fire, rightly so?
I did that. I mean,
Right.
I'm just saying that
We all did.
But didn't Obama also impose sanctions on Russia, which crippled their economy? And that's one of the reasons
No,
why
the
Trump Jr. had that
the
meeting?
Magnitsky Act happened because of my father. It had nothing to do with Obama, and let's keep that very straight.
But he did impose sanctions as
I'm
well.
sorry, but the normalizing of what happened with Putin happened under Democrats' watch as well. Abby's 100% right on it. Nobody has cared about Putin until all the human rights violations, the annexing of Crimea, everything in the Ukraine. Nobody cared until the elections. So don't tell me this isn't politically
Because the
motivated.
elections are a
think he
bastion of our democracy, and coming after our elections,
human rights should
coming
be
after
as
our
well.
elections is an attack on
Human
our national
rights, the
security.
torturing of a.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
we
you don't
gotta
care
go.
about Sergei Magnitsky being tortured and killed for being someone who sounded the alarm
Ladies,
But you're
we have to
asking
take
what
a
is
break.
different now.
Beers
That is
for
different.
everyone. We'll be right back.